Hello and welcome back to Spec. Apparently, the sky is falling 9th edition. The sky they're really talking about is a ground, and that's the battleground to be more precise. Games Workshop are changing the standard battleground from 6 foot by 4 foot, 72 by 48 inches, to 5 by 3.5 foot, we called it, or 44 inches by 60 inches. And that's for a standard 2,000 point game. Now yes, the game size is changing. What real significance is this? And when you start looking into it, you find out there are winners and there are definitely losers. And it will impact the game more than what you think. And it might not necessarily be a bad thing. And here's why. A lot of the community have become upset again with Games Workshop, and this time it's about the change in the size of the battle map. It hasn't hit the level of what I was speaking at last time in my video, which you'll see here. You know, the one where I was talking about the change from Age of Sigmar to Warhammer with the Thanos snapping. But it could be just as significant as that. Okay, and while we're at this point, I just want to jump in and let you know that video did really well for me. And I thank all the new and old subscribers alike, and I really appreciate it. Because it was really fun to make and it helped me really enjoy what I was doing. So thank you. Okay, let's get back to it. There has been lots of speculative reasons as to why Games Workshop have changed the size of the battle mats. Now some say it's for quicker games, others say it's just for convenience. Even interior designers have brought up the average size of UK dinner tables. Now I'll just say it's the average size of the US dinner tables that really counts here, as they're the largest purchaser of Games Workshop stuff outside the UK. I think it's more than that, and it includes major changes to an important part of the game industry. So let's go back to when the Emperor was young, when Warhammer 40k had just begun, and a lot of people would battle on a dining table on the floor. A combination of being cash-strapped and creative gave rise to all types of battlegrounds. People would use old curtains, blankets, or Sabutio pictures. Remember Sabutio? Yeah, the pitch, the green thing. Anyway, combined with cans as containment drums and cereal boxes for buildings, people got real crafty. And it was those simple things that helped people to imagine a vibrant battlefield for the models, bring them to life over and over again. I mean, look, even now if I want a quick game, I just grab a couple of old books, pile them up, and just use them as line of sight blocking terrain, and make it happen. Long live Floorhammer! This continued for years in the hobby until Games Workshop decided to cash in 2013, as they produced a realm of battle boards. It's about around the time when they figured we could pay a mortgage, because you know, you will need to be able to pay a mortgage to be able to afford one of these boards. Because they came in at 200 Great British pounds each. I'll say each because they released two. The first was like a generic grass battlefield with craters, and the second later that year was a city-based. Each was compatible with each other, fully customizable, 6 pieces of 2x2, detailed plastic, unpainted tiles in each box. That's right, unpainted. That gave rise to our standard 6x4 gaming board, the one that became the most popular and part of the competitive scene. All for the grand kidney selling price of £200. Yep, £200 recommended retail price, not eBay resellers. You don't even want to look there. Okay, so that's no real surprise as to why they weren't successful as game shops had hoped, and why people continued making their own battlegrounds, or opted for the cheaper vinyl mats at the time. They were light, 100% waterproof, cheaper, and had some wear in them. Now this continued until the following year with the introduction of new style of battle mats, and I'm sure as one of those aficionados you know what I'm talking about, those frontline gaming and table war mats. They launched themselves in March 28th, 2014. What made this mat so unique at the time, it was made from mouse mat material. It was neoprene, slide resistant backing, liquid resistant too. I mean, they took Beerhammer into account, you could tell. The surface was so smooth that models, quote, could glide across it smoother than a ballerina in hot butter. Okay, I tried it and I got friction burn. But that being said, I'm not really a ballerina, but strangely enough, I did enjoy the butter between my toes. Being smart, they produced multiple designs that sold really well. Their real big break came in when multiple influential wargaming channels showcased the mats between June and November that year, and among them was Mini Wargaming and Bell of Los Sols. I remember at the time being really greatly disappointed when I tried to buy that city mat. It was so cool, it was sold out for months. Yeah, that's right, I was willing to pay the international shipping too, even before they had that option. The quiet dice rolling with a newborn really won me over. And over the years, Many companies produce comparable mats, like GameMat.eu, Deep Cut Studios and others. I mean, you guys can send me a mat, right? These mats continued to improve and began adding extra details in the artwork. Deployment zones were carved out, locations for objectives, even craters and flares have been put there just to add into the base environment. And that made them hugely popular and successful, and brought in a huge rise in the competitive industry. Due to the rise in competition and efficiency in producing these mats, it reduced the cost to the customer to less than half the price of Games Workshop £200 battle board. And in cases where the mats were double-sided, it could even be a quarter of the cost, making the same Games Workshop boards only being really played and used in Games Workshop stores. The battle boards disappeared into obscurity. 17th of June 2017, it was the launch of the Dark Imperium Warhammer 8th edition. Games Workshop was ready. They have brand new bold fantastic models, lore, architecture, terrain pieces, and even new paints. They dominated all areas apart from one. That's right, the battleground. But the first steps towards this was producing standard deployment mats that didn't have specific sizes. Now if you go and look at page 216 of 8th edition Dark Imperium rulebook, you will notice that each map clearly has a center point measurements and maybe even the size of the player's deployment zones. But they still left enough ambiguity, or should I say space, about the overall size of the battleground. Yes, I know they included a section for organised events on page 214. Quote, organised events, if you're using match play for an organised event, such as a tournament, we suggest using a table below as a helpful guideline. Of course, if organising such an event, you should feel free to modify these guidelines to better suit your event, to your needs, schedule, etc. Unquote. In that line right there, friends, we get some golden evidence of Games Workshop's intentions. Suggested, not set in stone, and free to modify these guidelines. I think they lived in this ambiguity at the time because they had something in the works, specifically for battle mats. They were going to take a second shot at it. In October 27th, 2017, less than half a year after that epic launch, Games Workshop released the Realm of Battle boards, Moonbase, Calasius. It was a 4 fold-out gaming boards made of extra thick hard-wearing card, although it wasn't waterproof, double-sided interchangeable card tiles box set. It came with terrain, making it a battlefield in a box. All for that wonderful price of £60? Okay. Its key design was that it takes less than 5 minutes to set up and put away and fits on your average family dining room table. It was all in a box. But it was too little, too late. Other companies had already been established for years and started producing terrain for their mats too. But they just didn't give up. They just continued to release games with this adjustment size in play, taking us one step further to their idealized version of their game. July 2018, Games Workshop re-released Kill Team. This time the board came in a 22-inch by 30-inch setting. It was a great success. A lot of old hobby veterans from the community came back to play the game, and it was small enough team sizes and model count that you could really introduce new players and they could learn to play really quickly. And that was beginning of the integration of new board size. September 28, 2018, Kill Team Rogue Trader was released, and the board size again was 22 by 30 inches, bringing in the Rogue Trader community and Necromunda groups. Next, 3rd of August, 2019, they did it again. With the release of Warcry, the board was 22 by 30 inches, another fantastic success for quick gameplay, introducing those from Age of Sigmar. You see the pattern here? Kinda obvious. Again, one more time in conjunction with a Partworks company called Hatchet, Games Workshop released Warhammer Conquest magazine series, which I've got over here. And there were multiple game mats, and the size of the first mat was 22 by 15 inches. If you had the first mat in the series, you just needed to get 2. When you combined it with the other 3, you had the perfect size board for a 2,000 point Strike Force game, as you see here. This was really for people that had started out in the hobby, and the series ended in March 2020. 2 months later in May, 9th edition was announced. So if you came into the hobby at this point, there's really no change in the battleground size going into 9th. I believe this was no accident. This was Games Workshop intent from the release of 8th edition back in June 2017. They've been intentionally shifting the game size back to regain control of their once lost battleboard market. I believe this 6x4 has just been the hangover from 7th edition and also from those great quality mats that are being produced at that size. Games Workshop has reset the market at a time with more customers equating to more spending potential, new models, new armies, new paints, and I think we'll be seeing new game mats. Then I believe we will really get to play this great game the way the designers intended. Well done, G-dubs. But just be careful you don't upset the vets. Well, let's just say at this point, vets have already been catered for. Many tournament organisers were part of the playtesting, and they already knew about the size changes. Those same organisers tend to be the creators of the game mats, and it's been said that these mats will be ready for competitive play on the launch of the 9th edition. As we know, a lot of changes from competitive play filtered down to standard play. But this time, it's in reverse. So, you could buy another mat of the right size, or break out those Freddy Kruegers and get cutting. Look, really, you could just note it says minimum size. And I mean, who am I to stop you from indulging in your heretical tendencies? Well, that's what I've got for today. This has been Spect. I've enjoyed my time and I hope you enjoyed your time as always. And these are my thoughts on the upcoming 9th edition hobby. Again, I appreciate your time and as always, PC out.